I worship carrot and potato gods, so I can get a nice cuts. Okay.
It's week 4! We are having exams this week. It sounds like it's going to be quite intense because we're supposed to do like 3 different things within the span of 4 hours. The last time I took a 4-hour exam, so the last time I had an actual exam, it was A-levels, which was 2014, 6 years ago. But this is a practical exam, which means I don't have to like memorize things. We can actually bring like our recipes and stuff into the exam. We'll see how it goes. So the 3 things we're supposed to do during this exam are, first of all, knife skills. So we have to cut things according to the right size.
My pinky is 5.5 cm.
6 cm.
Oh my god, your fingers are so long.
We get to bring our rulers in, so that's okay. We can measure stuff before we cut. The second thing we have to do is a cookie. I made a batch to practice, but I finished eating all of it, so I have nothing to show right now. Everyone who saw my Insta story said like, oh, this looks fairly easy, like quite manageable. It's not easy. Like, I think the thing about pastry school is that it has brought me back to all the basic things, all the very classic things that I never thought much about or I never really paid attention to. So something like piping rosettes, I've always just gone like, yeah, very easy lah. Yeah, why would I need to practice this, or why would I need to work on this skill? But actually it's really hard. It's hard not because it's difficult to pipe, but it's difficult to get a consistent shape, size, and they go down to the details like which direction you pipe, how you end off. And then the next thing is we have to pipe like a full tray, and like we're not talking about this kind of my home baking tray that I just washed is very wet. Ew. Yeah, so this is a really small tray. I can pipe at most about 30 pieces on one tray, but for the school tray, we have to pipe 72 cookies. So yeah, it will be like 9, 8, 9, 8 until you finish the whole tray. And we have to pipe in straight lines, even spacing. I can't even write in a straight line. That day when we learned this recipe, I piped, we scraped, and then we put it back in the piping bag, and then we piped again. I think I did it at least like 10, 12 times. I was so tired. And the third thing we have to do is a sponge. It's an almond sponge, which is also like you start off with a meringue, you sieve in the dry ingredients, brown almonds, icing sugar, then you fold it, and then you pipe it, and you pipe straight lines. Again, it doesn't sound too difficult, but then we go down to the details, like we have to whisk the meringue by hand. I have never really tried to whisk meringue by hand, and it's a French meringue, which is the scariest meringue to make because it's the least stable. You have to be very, very careful about when you add the sugar, how much and how quickly you add it, and then you have to just keep whisking and whisking. Whereas for the other 2 types of meringues, like a Swiss meringue is very stable. Italian meringue has a few more steps, but once you get the temperatures and all that right, it's quite straightforward. Like that's my usual meringue, the one that I usually make. But of course with a stand mixer also not by hand. I guess one thing that I learned is that when sometimes when there's batter on the whisk, we like that, this will deflate whatever is in your bowl and whatever's on the whisk. So yeah, I learned to not do this. So when you're working with meringues, the chef was like, okay, so you just tap lightly and then it should come off. The next thing is with the folding of the dry ingredients into the meringue. that's also quite challenging. So you have to be very, very careful when you fold. You don't want to deflate the meringue. When you're done, you have to load it up in a piping bag and pipe straight lines. Again, straight lines, it sounds easy, but it's with something like a sponge batter, because there's a lot of air in it, I guess, it's very light. So once you apply a different amount of pressure, it will come out either too thin or too fat. So you have to be super careful when you're piping. And unlike the cookies, right, the cookie batter, if you get something wrong, you can still scrape it off and put it back into a piping bag. No one should know about this. But for the almond sponge, once you pipe wrongly, that's it, gone. There's no redemption. Yes, it's a very finicky recipe. So for today, I'm just going to be focusing on my knife skills. I'm actually pretty confident with my knife skills, but that's with the knives that I'm comfortable with, the knives that I'm used to. So for this exam, right, we have to use the knife that was given to us in our knife bags. So these were all part of our school fees. We've already paid for them, and we have to use them. So I usually cut vegetables. If I want really nice cuts, I use this knife. It's my Nakiri. My mom bought this for me a few years back, and it's a super good knife. Like, you can see how thin this blade is. And then we compare it to the chef's knife. This one is not as straight and not as thin. So it needs a lot of control before you can actually cut straight. Yeah. Or like maybe I just need a lot more control because I'm used to a flat knife. But either way, this is good training. So I'm gonna start first by sharpening my knife. Because when you have sharpened knives, they give you cleaner cuts. It's easier to control the knife. You're not really forcing it through anything. You're just, going straight, smooth cuts into whatever you're cutting. So for our exam, we have either a potato or a carrot. We have to cut. Butternut, small dice, julienne, brunoise, and fine julienne. So 5 different cuts. And you can see the measurements, they are pretty tricky. So I have to cut everything out of these. If I fail, I don't think I'm gonna get an extra potato. So I have to be super, super, super careful when I cut these. So I'm just gonna start with sharpening first, because that's the most important thing. So that was my very tall knife sharpening skills and my hopefully better slicing skills. For the rest of today, we have class at 4:45. So before I head to class, I have a lot of things to wash up. So washing up, and then I'm gonna try to make some macarons for a Christmas bake sale I'm doing with my friends. So yeah, that's it for now. So again, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Also leave your comments down below if you have anything in particular you want to see or you want to know more about, and I will try to find things. So I hope I'm gonna do okay on this exam. It's quite nerve-wracking, it's like our first practical and we don't know what to expect. I don't know how high the standards are. I don't really know how picky the instructors will be, examiner will be, so we'll find out. I will let you guys know if it goes okay. See ya!
Chunky carrots, chunky carrots, handpicked by Mummy Fanny. Mummy Fanny helped us pick carrots. Day 1 exam done! Yay!
Amazing. Amazing. This is amazing.